Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the concluding session of the NWR Investor Conference Series 11. I have been your host, Benjo Blake, and our last panelist today is VEEM. VEEM, ASX code VEE, is a designer and manufacturer of disruptive, high-technology marine propulsion and stabilization systems for the global luxury motor yacht, fast ferry, commercial workboat, and defence industries. Presenting on behalf of VEEM today is Managing Director Michael Mijosevic. And thanks for your time today, Michael. I'll hand over to you whenever you're ready.
Terrific. Thanks, Ben. It's Mark, by the way. Many of you will know me already. I thought it'd be a good idea to just go through the update we provided the market a few weeks ago and just go through and explain that to you, perhaps adding some more flavour, and then perhaps you could ask questions after that point. As you know, we're very fortunate that we see ourselves in a dominant position globally on the large gyro market. We're not seeing anyone entering that space at the moment, which is terrific. We see the leads are very strong. So we do, there's a lot of confidence the product's going to continue to grow and do very, very well. We've had a significant rise in propulsion demand from around the world, which we're scrabbling to meet the demand of. And at the same time, we are scrabbling to catch the rise in raw material prices through the ingot or the LME rises as well. So there's a bit of juggling going on at the moment. But we've got more machinery arriving at the end of the year. We've installed some now. So we should see our propeller volumes in terms of number of propellers increase significantly. And after Christmas will be something like 50% higher than what it was 6 months ago. That's really good news. And of course, we'll catch up on the LME cycle, so the profitability will rise on that as well going forward and into the next year. The ASC side of things, which is a very important part of our business, is going well, albeit the supplies from Europe are now very, very slow. They've slowed them down a lot. It's not just freight that's being slowed down, but obviously the COVID impact around the world has made a difference, and perhaps raw material supplies has made a difference as well. In WA, we are dealing with a tight labour market and the COVID issues. That's as we opened our borders in late February, we've all been pretty smashed in COVID, which has made it a bit difficult. And whilst WA has got a shortage of skilled labour in Australia generally, one of the positives that VEEM's got is that we consciously knew and decided that by building these products that we've got, we wouldn't be at the mercy of the skilled labour market in Western Australia, which was always fluctuating. So we can use on our propulsion, on our gyro stabilizers, and on our hollow bar, we can use a little less skilled labour than traditionally what we've had to employ. In fact, some semi-skilled and non-skilled people can be trained to carry out various parts of the job. And that's a positive. We did see that going in the Australian market. We recognised this decades ago, and it started to become more of a swing away from trade-related to being a professional skills base. So overall, we're in a strong position going forward in that we're relatively busy. We're growing extensively in propellers. Gyro sales are continuing. And we still, of course, have got the healthy defence sector that we're dealing with. So on the gyros specifically, we're still, we've developed a great degree of expertise, and it's a complex product, which means that the barrier to entries are very high. And we're now driving our sales by taking on staff in Europe to help us sell them and to service them. Obviously, COVID's driven a lot of that, and we've responded to that, which will help our business a great deal. Last year we sold 12 units. This year we're already at 12. We may sell a couple of more units for the end of the year. So we're seeing the same or a modest increase, albeit different models. And this is where the turnovers change a bit. We can't always dictate which particular model, whether it's a large one worth over $1 million or one of the smaller ones worth $250,000 in US dollar terms. So we just have to roll with that as we go as a new product. But we can certainly see we're getting the stability of what we wanted, albeit we want more growth. But of course, in the world we're in at the moment, which is in a bit of a state of turmoil, we're finding things are a little bit slower going than what we'd like. A good example is Darwin's walk-to-work vessel. that still hasn't been commissioned. It's now over a year behind schedule. And a lot of that is that the people simply haven't been at work to be able to do it. And releasing a new vessel requires certain coordination of key clients and media, which are difficult to work with at the moment. But we do have significant volume and good quality leads. We've seen the quality of leads increase. So we believe the future orders and sales are coming. And what we're trying to do is build some inventory to cope with that. So we hope to finish this financial year with a little bit of inventory, as well as the sales, modest sales number increase from where we are now. So that's all progressing. The propulsion I mentioned has gone, it's really grown significantly. But the nice part about it is obviously recreational is a big part, but there's also an increase in commercial, which is really important, and defence is continuing. And we have in fact been working in the defence space, and it's a bit of a cross job, is the Hunter class, the new Hunter class frigates that we're building have a very specialised propeller, and we've now just tendered on the second of 3 phases to be moving towards manufacturing that contract in Australia, which is really important. And that's a boost that's coming. It's probably a couple of years before that goes into production if all goes well, but we have passed the first hurdle, which was the accuracy of our manufacturing processes. And these are some of the most accurate propellers that have ever been manufactured. So this is globally, I'm saying. So it's really quite an exciting challenge. We are, as I said before, we're chasing a tail on LME. We have secured better sources of the LME. So over the next few months, we'll start to see our margins grow in that area, and we'll be able to really capitalise on that extra volume. So we've talked about defence. There has been a change in the Oscar Ride ships LCS contract coming to a conclusion after a dozen years, but we're still doing, of course, Cape class, the Pacific Patrol Boat class, and other product for the US market for the occasional high-speed, joint high-speed vessel, and of course for their regular ferry market. And we are still doing some of the work at the moment. Well, Hollow Bar is continuing on as it's our own product. We're continuing to turn over and looking to grow that market. We're looking at marketing a bit further. And of course, we have got technical changes in place to lower the cost of production as the volume grows. So we've got more of a marketing approach that we're executing, a plan we're executing at the moment. Engineering on demand, which is basically the local defence market, the local mining market, is constrained a little by the labour that's available. It's quite technically complex and it's quite diverse, but there's plenty of work there for us, which we're continuing to do. This has always been the case, and it's probably one of, I would suggest, VEEM's strengths in that space, as we always seem to have something bubbling along. So we're expecting business to continue on this year. It's been a tough year, but it's all set up to prosper over the next 12 months as the turmoil settles in the markets.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for the update there, Mark. I've just got one question that's come through. Brunswick Corp had a good quarterly last Friday in the US and are expecting recreational boating demand to remain high. One of their most popular boats, the Boston Whaler, using the Seakeeper gyro in most of their 40-feet craft. Yeah. Have you got a feel for the percentage of the smaller boats now being fitted with gyros in the US and or European markets?
Yeah, last time I spoke to Brunswick, they said 100% of their 40-foot Boston Whalers were fitted with Seakeepers, and approximately 50% of their 30-foot Boston Whalers. So it's certainly in America it's taken off, and that's what's given us the confidence. But of course, we operate in a much larger boat size. So whilst we're seeing demand on propellers, demand has pretty much doubled from where we were. We're seeing with the gyro stabilizers, it's still very healthy, that market. And we want to ensure that we have our technology right and we've entered that market strongly, which we're doing now. We have got research and development going on the next size down, the smaller gyros. And as we feel we've had success in a particular size of gyro, we're then looking smaller and smaller. The interesting thing is VEEM has done research and development on integrating gyro stabilizers into outboard motors. And we have patent applications in for several of those applications. So we're not sitting still. We recognise this, but there is still an empty space on large gyros and $1 billion a year market. And we really believe we need to make sure we're well entrenched and having great success in that market before we stretch further into the smaller segment. But it's certainly there and we're heading toward it.
Thanks for the update. How many are in your sales team and how wide is their reach geographically?
What we've got is we've just employed a guy running out of the Netherlands, which is really the epicenter of technology for the marine world for us on the larger boats. So he started back in January and he's working away our European base. And we, of course, cover with our travelling people. Now we can travel, we can get out and move around. And this has been done really because we're finding the travelling through COVID has made life particularly difficult. But now we want to be right in there in every yard. It's very much a B2B sale with our gyros, which means we have to be in at every boat yard and every refit yard in Europe on a regular basis, which is the primary market for us. And this is a great step. Of course, technically, we've been in that space now for probably about 18 months. Really, when COVID hit, it took us by surprise. And in fact, we had 2 hours to get our technicians off a boat and out of France when COVID hit. So we've really had to work very hard to manage that massive change in the market, or should I say in travel, which we've done by employing more people. We also have technicians down the US that covers all our service and repair work in the US. So our tentacles are spreading slowly but steadily.
And Mark, where do you see most of your growth coming from in the future coming years?
Well, obviously we see gyros as the huge one. And I think that we're starting to get feedback from the market about the reliability of the unit and the performance of the unit. And we believe firmly that we're on a real winner. What has surprised us has been the growth in propulsion. And we're going to ride the back of that. And we can see 2-year look ahead. In fact, we've got now production schedules from some of our major customers to the end of 24, which is unprecedented. I want to lock in their supply chain so they can deliver boats for the next 2 years. And I think that VEEM's now developing a strategy beyond that on how we can perhaps have a greater presence in that market in the long term. So pleasant surprise on that one.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Mark, for your time. And that concludes the NWR Virtual Investor Conference Series 11. It has been a fantastic lineup of healthcare, industrial and technology companies, and replays are now available at nwrconference.webflow.io and will be available on the NWR YouTube channel in the coming days. Thanks a lot to all the companies involved, and thanks for joining us in this fantastic conference over the past 3 days. I've been your host, Banjo Blake, and we'll see you all at our next conference. Thanks a lot for your time, Mark.
Thanks, Ben. Bye-bye.
Thanks.